Next month, the eyes of the world are going to be on Chicago for the Democratic National Convention, especially after all of the tumult we've seen in the Democrat Party, with Joe Biden saying he's not running for re-election, with Kamala Harris lining up the delegates to be the nominee. But could anything happen on the convention floor? We, of course, with the Center Square, will be there on the ground, so be sure to wake up each and every morning here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell at America's Talking Network, and stay up to date as we're on the ground and giving you those daily updates. But somebody else who's on the ground regularly in Chicago is reporter William Kelly, independent journalist, somebody out there on the streets talking to the sources, knowing what's happening. He joins us now live to talk about some of the latest headlines. Of course, William will talk about the convention and the preparations that are happening there. But we've also got the headlines of yet again another weekend where, sadly, lives were lost. And in particular, you've got a 3-month-old child that lost their life. Thanks for joining us this morning, William.
God bless you, Greg. Thank you for having me. Right. Another 22 reported shootings, 2 fatalities, one of them, 3-month-old child. We hear our mayor talking about Sonia Massie, who was shot and killed in Springfield, Illinois. But for whatever reason, he doesn't seem to be aware of the shootings, the murders. Really thousands upon thousands of unsolved shootings and murders that are in the city of Chicago. He has spent in recent weeks another $200+ million on violence interrupters and these youth programs. They're obviously not working. $100 million of that money came from the business community. My sources inside this business community say that they felt that they were being extorted, that it was kind of pay up or else. But regardless, 100 million here, 100 million there, and still we have an average of 20 to 45 shootings every weekend, Greg.
Obviously, a lot of concern of the violence in Chicago, but there was also a protest over the weekend, a march with the spotlight on what happened here in Springfield. And we had a segment about this last week whenever the surveillance, or not the surveillance, but the body camera footage came out of that sheriff's deputy arriving on the scene for a call of somebody looking to get some help. All right, they had a suspected prowler, whatever the call may have been. They were looking for assistance, but that's not how that evening ended up. And in the early morning hours, Sonia Massie was shot in the face by a Sangamon County sheriff's deputy who's currently behind bars, facing murder charges and no longer a sheriff's deputy. But you've got the community coming out in Chicago, not just in Springfield. And quite frankly, William, this is something that's been seen across the country, with even the president of the United States reflecting on this. How does this help with any kind of worries and concerns that minority communities, especially in Chicago, have with Chicago police, who have their own tumultuous history when it comes to race relations, and even who's the detective that got all those fraudulent, guilty, confessions out of people, so that history's still there. How do you think that the community's reacting to the Sonia Massie shooting?
Well, as a lifelong Chicagoan, born and raised on the south side of Chicago, it has always astounded me that whether it's the mayor or the governor or obviously, historically speaking, Father Flagler or Reverend Jackson, the only time they ever seem to protest any shooting or any murder is when there's a white police officer involved. Like I said, we had a 3-month-old baby shot dead in Chicago this last weekend, and I haven't heard a peep out of the mayor or the governor or Jesse Jackson about that. Hundreds and thousands of unsolved shootings and murders in the city of Chicago, and you never hear Jesse Jackson protesting that. But if there's a white police officer involved, there'll be anger, there'll be frustration, there'll be protest marches, and I can't help but wonder also politically speaking, um, how that helps Johnson or Pritzker politically to try and inflame racial hatred leading up to the DNC, when already the only real headlines that the DNC convention are generating in this local, state, national is that there will be 50,000 plus protesters, people who are already inflamed. They're already angry. They already want to break windows and set fires and attack random innocent people on the street. How is further enraging people about this tragic shooting of Sonia Massie? How is that helping, Greg?
Of course, the sheriff's deputy being charged with murder in this case, Sean Greyston, all the headlines coming out about his work history, questionable, and of course that's going to drive calls for reforms on policing and how police are hired and making sure they check backgrounds and such. So we'll clearly have a lot more conversation about that entire situation. But you talk about the DNC, we'll talk about the security apparatus around it. You mentioned the thousands of protesters who are expected outside the security perimeter. But what about the impact of potentially thousands of non-citizen migrants coming into the city that the city says they haven't budgeted for but are fully anticipating because of Texas Governor Greg Abbott's recent comments?
Well, there you go, Greg, 100% right. Where, again, the number that we're being told is 25,000 migrants will be bused to the city of Chicago during the DNC. This is usually, whenever you hear these numbers, they usually are double or triple. Like for example, the city of Chicago is spending an average of $1 million per day on migrant vendors. Okay, that's just the vendors. That's not healthcare or education or the other obvious city services or taxpayer funded services that are going to migrants. What we are seeing, and I see it with my own eyes, in all parts of Chicago, including downtown, where typically the mayor or the governor would want to show off the Gold Coast, the Michigan Avenue, the Magnificent Mile, to any conventions, certainly the DNC, with hundreds of media expected to also attend this convention, local, state, national, yourself included, Greg. You would want to show off the Magnificent Mile. I can tell you right now, the number of clearly mentally ill homeless people on Michigan Avenue is shocking. So whatever they've done to try and clean up homeless camps seems to have forced these homeless people, many of whom appear to have mental illness. They're not only talking to themselves, they're screaming, to themselves and at random people walking past. So, a perfectly normal person can be walking down the street and have a homeless person like come up right behind them and start screaming at them. What they're scream what the I don't think there's any real rhyme or reason to it. So the obvious question that somebody would ask is, why are they screaming? What did you do to them, Greg? No, they're mentally ill, and they're violent, and then now you combine that with with these migrants that are increasingly committing crimes. They're increasingly driving cars without any license plates, tags. They don't, nobody ever took the time. Our Secretary of State, Alexi Janulius, never took the time to explain to them that there are streets that go in one-way streets. So you'll see them going double, triple the speed limit down a one-way street. And I've been the victim of a out of control driver who hit me, who destroyed, totaled my car, practically killed me, got out of the car and ran down the street on foot. So I mean, this is happening every day to law-abiding Chicagoans who are trying to go about their jobs. But and now we have the DNC. The police superintendent, who is black, by the way, uh, to his credit, said, got up in front of a microphone last week and said, I heard him say that, yes, the goal is to keep all of the convention, all of Pritzker and Johnson's convention gala party guests safe. But his goal is also to keep the citizens of Chicago safe. Well, the problem with that statement, is well intended as it may be, is that the citizens of Chicago haven't been safe up until now. How are they going to? How are the police going to keep them safe during this convention when you've got 50,000 plus violent protesters who are being kept out of the convention area, what they call the safety bubble? They're going to put the DNC, the delegates, the party guests, in what they call a safety bubble, and obviously, I mean, you don't even have to be, some law enforcement expert. That's clearly going to force these angry, violent protesters, mentally ill, and now the migrants, to go to what I guess you could call a soft target, which is everywhere else.
Well, having seen the security apparatus at the RNC earlier this month, I imagine that the perimeter is going to be a nice buffer between the protests and whoever's walking into the DNC operations. So we'll be watching that closely. William Kelly, independent reporter out of Chicago. Always appreciate chatting with you, and we'll talk again in the near future. All right.
See you soon, Greg. God bless.
All right, it is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell each and every weekday morning with America's Talking Network, and get the podcast. If you can't watch live, you can join us at the podcast. Just search Illinois in Focus, and you should find it wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great day.